having space-based weapons in outer space, from your experience and from your perspective?
Well,
I know it's a tough question, but it's a good one.
we don't have orbiting weapons of mass destruction or other weapons. What we were developing were anti-missile missiles.
Okay. Is that what Star Wars was?
If another nation shot a missile, and that has not proved to be completely effective now, that's something that they're still working on. The whole thing is complicated because you could have mass destruction with activities that are not usually considered as weapons. For example, your communication system, your worldwide communication system.
Right.
That holds all the Earth together.
So you mean if something were deployed that would knock out a satellite? Is that what you mean? Can you explain that a little further? Because that's interesting and that's very important. That's a very good point.
That is what keeps the nations cooperating. The international space cooperation is really complete. And it's in our national law and it's in the international law. And that is something that we have to watch out for, especially now that we have terrorism. Because you could do a lot of damage by destroying communication systems.
You mean...
you don't always have to have an atomic bomb to do it. It would be very disruptive to have anything like that.
So is that an anti-missiles missile? Is that what you're talking about, by having something that could stop something that could, let's say, put out a satellite?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not an orbiting weapon.
Right. Okay, I got it. Well, these distinctions are very critical. An orbiting weapon, having weapons of mass destruction, that whole universe has evolved, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Now, in the NASA Act, the policy, the space policy that Congress declared was that it's the policy of the United States that activities in space should be devoted to peaceful purposes for the benefit of all mankind. And in the Treaty on Principles governing the activities of states, that's the 67 Treaty, it provides that the exploration and use of space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, shall be carried out for the benefit and in the interest of all countries, irrespective of their degree of economic and scientific development, and shall be the province of all mankind. So our national law and our international law are in harmony.
That's interesting.
And according to Article 6 of the United States Constitution, we have peaceful purposes.
Then I just wonder how it is that the people that are selling deeds to the moon and other locations haven't been arrested. I mean, they're actually breaking a law nationally and internationally. And I would imagine they're violating securities laws because they're selling, I guess you can sell anything. You can sell a pet rock, right?
Yes. Well, it's one of the problems that has to be faced that has not been taken very seriously until just recently. And I think that something will have to be done about it. And that is why the International Institute of Space Law came out with this statement of pointing out that we already have a law that tells you exactly how to go about this.
Yes. Why don't we give out the...
It tells you have to go about it if it happens.
Yes.
But we haven't got the machinery yet for doing it.
When you say you don't have the machinery to do it, what does that mean?
Well, that means that you would have to have some organization of the government that would crack down on these people who are trying to sell lots on the moon.
But what if the government of the United States of America is very much for the commercialization of outer space? Then what do we do?
Well, according to the law and the practice, we have always been in favor of commercial use for a profit. That's one of the uses. I mean, some of the uses that you can develop from the information you get from outer space are those that make a profit. Some of them don't, but have an economic component. For example, if you save lives and property by better weather reports, that's an economic factor, but it's not a profit. If you are selling something else that would have to do with remote sensing and saving agriculture and things of that kind, you can always make a profit. And in fact, we have laws that permit this.
I'd like to open up the call-in lines right now to anybody who would like to address Eileen Galloway, the matriarch, grand matriarch of space law. You can call us at the Radio Colorado Network at 1-800-531-3815. Ladies and gentlemen, we really want to hear from you at 800-531-3815 with your questions to Eileen Galloway regarding space law, space exploration, the commercialization of outer space, and this whole subject. I'm going to give this 800 number again, 1-800-531-3815. Eileen, I asked you a few days ago on the phone what to be thinking about. How would you like to leave the Earth? We don't all get a chance to think about, and we don't focus on what we like to leave behind. You obviously are already leaving behind in your presence a huge legacy. But what are the particular areas that you'd really, if you could blink your eye, would like to see changed or developed after you're gone?
Well, I would like to see the international space cooperation continue, because that has enabled us to proceed with all kinds of profitable uses, humanitarian and economic, by using outer space for solving problems on the Earth. And otherwise, I would like to see more publicity given to things that are going well, and not have all of the news that I look at in the newspaper every day tell me about people who are being killed or some terrible thing, and not having a single story about anything that's being done correctly.
Well, I look forward to bringing that forth, because its Rainmaking time is dedicated to introducing positive, uplifting stories, attracting and disseminating the good in the world, and finding the people, the experiences, the stories, and the news that will transmit the upside of the lovely events going on in the world. So I'm with you, and I promise you it's going to happen. It's really, really going to happen. Now, we have a gentleman from Surprise, Arizona named Jim on the line. Jim, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time.
Oh, thank you very much, and it's quite a privilege to talk to Eileen Galloway. Eileen, I worked for NASA for 37 years. Actually, in 1960, I was recruited from high school, and also everything that you've mentioned is extremely true. I've lived it, so I know what it's about. One of the problems that was overlooked was intergalactic ownership, which is pretty far out at this point in time. But how do we handle, how would we handle, somebody else's galaxy, in other words, that sort of property. But also going back again to what you said before about the spin-offs that are not recognized by what NASA has done as a civilian agency of the government is so true. And but the space law, going back to space law again, the space law part of it is so critical for future generations that a body that would enforce it, either the treaties or come up with some other treaty that would make sense, for future generations. I'd just like to know your take on that.
Well, I think the first thing that needs to be done is that the State Department